What's going on, everybody? Welcome in another edition here of Mean Streets. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully my Canadian family had a great Thanksgiving and we are ready to roll on what was a pretty wild week 5. A lot of injuries, and I hate to see it, but we have a lot of injuries to talk about, and we have some waiver wire rankings, running back and wide receivers. Only 2 teams on bye this week. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers, but this will be the week where I feel like it could make or break your season. I honestly feel like this is the first week where it's like waiver wire is a big deal. You know, there's been a couple players here and there that we've talked about throughout the season, but for the most part here, I think fab will be spent, and there could be some difference makers on the waiver wire. So we're going to talk some wide receiver, running back waiver wire rankings, some defense streams. Of course, again, there's only 2 teams on bye. We'll take an early look at week 6, picks against the spread. We'll at least take a look at the lines. We're not going to lock anything in terms of picks. I think a much better week last week in terms of props on this show and picks, but still struggling myself with the NFL props. And I just feel like I'm getting burned left, right, and center on like 1 yard or 1 catch. I feel like the process is fine, but it is what it is. We're going to continue to give props and give picks, and I'm confident we will turn things around. So bear with me. We do have 3 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. If you're looking for NHL stuff, Dangle Betselli is already recorded. It's available on iTunes and Spotify here on our FTN Network YouTube page. NHL predictions, NHL free betting guide, fantasy hockey kit. We got one more draft here, NFC draft here tonight for me before the puck drops officially. And we had some futures and some picks, props for the slate, but this is a football central show. Baseball, we're going to stay away from it for now. October is rolling. Yesterday was a good day for us in the bet tracker. We had the Braves. We had the Braves over 4.5 runs, and we continue to ride with Arizona. Even though I picked the Dodgers to win, I had to jump on the plus 140 yesterday for Arizona. They're just playing some really good baseball. And how about the finish in Atlanta last night? Man, that was awesome. That was just electric. I hope that series goes the distance between the Phillies and the Braves. But we're here for some football talk. We got some waiver wire stuff. We'll get into it now. Justin Jefferson, Devon Achane, James Conner, Travis Kelce, Anthony Richardson. These guys are all banged up. Richardson sounds like, I don't know if any of this is official. I've been doing a lot of hockey stuff here this morning, but it sounds like Justin Jefferson IR. It sounds like Achane is multiple weeks. James Conner is multiple weeks. Travis Kelce not practicing. Thursday night football game tonight this week with the Broncos. 10.5-point favorites. Don't know if we see him. He slipped and looked like he rolled his ankle. There's some Achilles talk out there. He came back. He was able to play, scored a touchdown. I don't know. On the short week, when they're that big favorites, I think we got to be looking elsewhere for a tight end. And tight ends, some that we talked about on this show last week, like Ferguson, could potentially be available for you. I think the big pickup will be Logan Thomas. I always want to call him Thompson, member of the Golden Knights. It is Logan Thomas who had the big day. And you know what? At the moment, we've talked about it a couple times. It really does sting me to say this, but Jahan Dotson's not giving us anything. We talked about, not playing him over the past couple weeks. Now it's like time to move on. Even Curtis Samuel is probably a better option than him at this point. So we'll continue to monitor some of the injuries, like Eckler and Saquon. Are these guys going to return? How about Zach Moss? That was surprising. I wasn't totally into starting Jonathan Taylor. If you had him, and you were going to roll him out there. But I think I had him like RB 22, 23, and I believe that was a consensus over at FTN Fantasy. But I still didn't think that Zach Moss would have that type of day. He was the most dropped. This is fantasy football in a nutshell. He was the most dropped player Sunday morning. When they announced that Taylor was going to play, they signed the contract extension, which is great. It's awesome news. Like, this is what we want to see. Good for Taylor, and we want to see him on the field. So Zach Moss, the most dropped guy. I've been talking for weeks about selling him. And then he has that monster 30-point performance in fantasy. I believe it was 30 points. He had a couple of really nice runs. He finished his RB2 on the week behind ETN. 34 points. Zach Moss, 33 points. Nice to see the bounce back from Breece Hall with the training wheels off at 27 fantasy points. And he had 22 carries, 177 yards. Again, the Broncos just cannot stop anybody on the ground. He reeled in all 3 of his targets. Achane in there. Dave Montgomery continues to ball out. We love that here on this show. Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Jaleel McLaughlin turned out to be a pretty good waiver wire pickup, still owned in fewer than 60% of leagues. No Javonte Williams and limited again here today. Tajay Spears, Raheem Mostert, DeAndre Swift, AJ Dillon. pretty surprised about Aaron Jones. That did surprise me. I didn't hear anything really all week about Aaron Jones, and then a healthy scratch. I know that probably, injured. I know that probably burned some people in their fantasy leagues, needing a few points from him. And just a friendly reminder that I would say, moving forward, Monday Night Football games, if you got anybody playing on Monday Night Football games, you have to have them in the flex spot so you can swap them out for just something. I know I was going up against Aaron Jones in a couple spots, and one I saw somebody pick up, Hunter Renfrow, who played like 8 snaps in the first half yesterday. He's just not getting on the field, and it's really just 2 guys. And we saw a little bit of Michael Mayer yesterday, but it's really just Jacoby and Devontae from Jimmy G. But you can, that way you're not totally strapped. You can grab somebody, whether it's a wide receiver or a tight end, just, backup. So maybe you can get a couple points. Just a little piece of advice there to Monday Night Football, to have those players in the flex. I mean, I had Christian Watson in the flex because I just didn't trust that he was going to play, man. And if Jordan Love was any good, and I know Jordan Love's had some okay fantasy games, but man, the completion percentage is near the bottom of the NFL. He's underthrowing guys all the time. Like Watson, where was Romeo Doubs? I thought that was kind of weird to see him really not involved at all yesterday. But Christian Watson should have had like 175 yards. He's just underthrowing them nonstop. But he did end up, with a pretty decent day on just what were a couple of grabs. All right, so let's get into some waiver wire rankings. We'll just dive into this here right now. The Rams just traded Justin Jefferson to the Falcons. Albert breaking some news here for us. I mean, why? They don't want to use any of their dudes. Honestly, it was a good week for Kyle Pitts. It was a good week for Drake London. Those guys got some targets. They're pretty thin at the wide receiver position, right? Matt Collins is the 2. So the Rams moving on from Van Jefferson. This is good news for Tutu Atwell, right? Cooper Kupp came back. That was something that we had in the bet tracker, something that we got right. And, we can't even tap ourselves in the back for that because Cooper Kupp just picked up where he left off, right? The guy's unbelievable. There were some moments there where there was a disconnect, not up to game shape. A couple routes where Matthew Stafford, overthrew him, underthrew him. But for the most part, his catch prop is 5.5 and his receiving yard prop was 57.5. And the first drive, he had 5 grabs and like 56 yards. So that's a nothing trade. Thank you, Albert, for breaking it, but it just opens up the door, I think, for Tutu Atwell. And of course, Puka Nacua has been fantastic. Daily Handle, welcome in. Welcome in. We have Kyle Woods here in the house. Some PPR Superflex trade question. He has Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen. Running backs are McLovin, Stevenson, Rashawn Johnson, Kyron, Warren, Spears, and Gainwell. Another team asking for one of your quarterbacks. So you have T-Law and Josh Allen. You have 2 really strong options there for his CMC for Allen or Hall over Taylor. Who also threw in Pickett or Mac Jones? We're doing quarterbacks pretty hard, 4 interceptions, so they don't outscore running backs way too much. Okay, yeah. I don't think I'm trading any one of those quarterbacks, to be honest with you. You are pretty thin elsewhere, I would say. You didn't give me your wide receiver, so you're probably good there. But these running backs, I mean, they're pretty thin there. So he would throw in either Pickett or Mac Jones. I mean, I want nothing to do with Mac Jones. This guy could be benched at any moment. I think it's like the Zappy show now. As for Pickett, Pickett will never lose his job. The Pittsburgh Steelers really can't move the ball. That was a surprising game for me. I don't know what was Lamar doing with that toss in the end zone. Let's run the ball, man. Steelers came back. Pickett hit Pickens down the side of the field. I don't know, but you definitely need running backs. Like McLovin is a short-term thing. When Javonte comes back, there's just a lot going on. Stevenson is not doing anything because New England's not moving the ball, and it's a timeshare in New England. Like Zeke is getting touches. Roshan, we've been talking about stashing now is potentially his time. Kyron is nice for you. He's getting all the touches. Warren is continues to trend up. Spears is a flex. Like you don't have a solid running back option here at all. You don't even have an RB2, I don't think, at this moment. Quarterbacks available. Yeah, I would try to do something like this. Like maybe go get Zappy. I don't think we'll see Tyrod. I mean, Daniel Jones is nicked up, but if he's ready, he'll go. I consider trading Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I did have Trevor Lawrence as a sell high candidate here. because of the schedule. And it was still like just an okay game from him. I know he had over 300 yards. Jacksonville moved the ball a little bit more, but they still struggled inside the red zone. Guys are really struggling with drops. But I look at Trevor Lawrence's schedule, and this week the Colts is really nice. But then at New Orleans, week 7, at Pittsburgh, week 8, we talked about the secondary, but they still have some guys that can get after the quarterback. And Pittsburgh is a tough place to play. Then out of the bye, it's San Fran. And come playoff time, it's at Cleveland, home to Baltimore, and then at Tampa Bay. Those are tough spots for Trevor Lawrence. So I would consider trading him, but it's a super flex, so you really want to have 2 quarterbacks there. Make a claim on Zappy, maybe throw in Kenny Pickett, but I would consider Trevor Lawrence there and get yourself a more balanced squad and some running backs. Here we go. Ryan's in the house. Should I trade CD for Jefferson straight up? Which Jefferson? Is it Justin? No, because he's hurt. And this could be a IR thing. Again, I don't have the list. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I have no idea what's going on with StreamYard lately, but it is grinding my gears. You guys hear me okay? I know we just lost connection there for a second, but StreamYard has been like this for the past few days for me, and I just don't know what's going on. But if you guys can hear me, give me the thumbs up. We'll just continue to go on here. Justin Jefferson, I believe, could potentially land on. Yeah, he is. He's officially on there, right? Yeah, he's officially on the IR. So he's going to be gone for 4 weeks. I wouldn't. You can hear. Thank you, Joshua. I wouldn't be trading for Justin Jefferson. The only way I would trade for Justin Jefferson is if I was in first place and I don't know, I can afford to take on a stash like that. Like I would, there's a couple things here. Like I would just keep CD for you because Minnesota is clearly, I mean, they're 1-4. They're not going to rush this guy back. The earliest you're going to see Justin Jefferson would be week 9. So it's nice to have him towards the end of the season. Sure. But the only way I would pick him up is if I was in a top near the top spot and I can afford, of course most leagues have some IL spots. You can do something like that. But if you were, I would honestly move on from him too. If I was in the bottom 3 or 4, if somebody wanted to give me, CeeDee Lamb, I would move on. And you need healthy bodies now to make the playoffs. And it is really risky. And the only way I would acquire him is if I would near the top of the standings. It's a little early for start and sit, Colby, but I am here for the people, so I'll try. To be honest with you, I don't even really know all of the matchups, but we do have this board here, which will give some of the matchups. Like Tuesday's a day for rankings for me. Yesterday was Thanksgiving in Canada, so I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of my rankings being up. So I don't know all of the matchups. They'll be live. My rankings will be live at FTN Fantasy tonight. So, I mean, I'm always starting Puka. I don't think that it should ever be a question. It's the first 2 for me. Even with Kate, Justin Jefferson not playing, it's the first 2. We did have a bounce back performance here for Waddle. It's something that we talked about as a good buy low candidate. He scored a touchdown. He's still not getting a ton of volume, but Carolina 13-point favorites here. I'm starting Waddle and I'm starting Puka every single week. Like it just really shouldn't be a question. He is that good. We still saw some targets from him. He scored a touchdown. All of the attention will be on Cooper Kupp. The Eagles did that in the second half of the game and took him away a little bit. Like brackets and things like that. And then we saw a little bit more from Puka. So even against who do they have this week? It's Arizona, right? There it is. Yeah, we don't have any live odds there. I think maybe it got cut off, but either way, I think they're 6.5-point favorites. Puka, Waddle is where I would go. This is good news. Like it really does suck to see an injury, and especially somebody as good as Justin Jefferson. He's one of the best in the game, right? But this will open up the door for Jordan Addison. And, KJ Osborne has been playing over Addison. He has been playing more snaps than him, running more routes. He's going to be the hot waiver wire pickup as well. But I would roll with the first 2. And again, it's only Tuesday here. We got some waiver wire rankings to see. Waiver wire rankings, this guy or that guy. So let's just get into it right now and hang on, and I'll get to some of your questions. And I want to take a look at Super Bowl odds and MVP odds as well. So let's start here with running backs. This is what I have for running backs. I have Jeff Wilson up at the top. Now, Jeff Wilson, the 21-day window to be activated this week. And the thing with Jeff Wilson, like if you need somebody to start this week, it's not going to be Jeff Wilson. It's Roschon who's in concussion protocol at the moment, but they played on Thursday, so there could be some time for him to play. We've been talking about him as a stash all year long. He was one of our favorite late round pickups. It's a stash. I love Khalil Herbert. He was playing really good, but it sounds like a week-to-week injury. So Roschon, that stash that we've been talking about, now he's borderline startable, and Chicago is they're on the uptick, right? They've played 2 good games in a row. Justin Fields is all of a sudden a top 3 quarterback. DJ Moore is a top 3 wide receiver, right? It's clicking in Chicago at the moment. And a matchup against Minnesota, which is a good one. But Jeff Wilson, the reason I have him this high is because Achan is dealing with that knee injury that's going to keep him sidelined for multiple weeks. And it's just, this is a guy that has a high ceiling, and it's such a good offense. It's an amazing offense with Mike McDaniel and the guys that they have in motion. And we've seen some great things from Jeff Wilson. I think it's, when he is active and ready to go, it's him and Mostert. It's both of them are going to be startable. They were both top 12 running backs for me in my rankings. We got lucky with a Mostert touchdown, but Wilson, it takes the cake here because I'm thinking rest of the season, and linked to that Miami offense is what I want. If you need a start this week, it's probably Amari. Amari is for Arizona. It sounds like James Conner, who I don't have anything significant here just yet, but it does sound like, right, guys, he's going to land on IR, and that would mean 4 weeks for him. So Amari is a guy that played for TCU my goodness, last year, and he had some moments down the stretch, but I really liked what I saw from him, DeMarcado, that is, when he filled in for James Conner, who left. He had double-digit carries. He had 45 yards on those carries, 10 carries. He had a touchdown. And I noticed him last week against San Fran. 4 targets, 3 grabs, 21 receiving yards. It's like, oh, man, he runs pretty well. And just this past week, he had the 3 targets, just the 1 catch for 12 yards. But James Conner, one thing we know about Conner is, 1, he is underrated. 2, unfortunately for him, he hasn't been able to stay healthy over the course of his career. And 3, a lot of touches, right, from James Conner. He was inside the top 10 in opportunities. He was getting some targets. He was getting some carries. And Arizona isn't as bad as what I thought they would be. Yeah, I mean, they have 1 win. They hung around with Washington. They blew that one against the Giants. They beat the Cowboys. They actually hung around with the Niners for the most part in San Fran until late in the 4th quarter. Since they were in that ball game until the end, looking ahead of their schedule, they got the Rams, Seattle, Baltimore, Cleveland, Atlanta. There's some tough spots there. Houston's a good one, week 11. You expect Conner to be back by then, but this is a guy that I think you could, bank on opportunities. I don't know if he's really as skilled as Kyren Williams, but it reminds me of the same sort of deal. It's a running back that is going to get a bulk of the touches, is going to get some targets, some goal line work there. And, I don't have there's a couple players that are a little bit deeper that aren't on this list, like maybe Chris Brooks for Miami or maybe Tony Jones for Arizona. But I think Amari is a guy, DeMarcado is a guy that the name always trips me up a little bit. Amari DeMarcado is a guy that he will get opportunities. So again, just to kind of recap here, Jeff Wilson, rest of the season, linked to a really good offense. Roschon Johnson getting an opportunity here. If you need starts this week and you are super desperate, I do believe Roschon will clear concussion protocol, but it's just an educated guess. Amari would be the guy. And if you are 1-4 or you are not in a playoff spot and you are thin at the running back position, you are going to have to be aggressive. You may have to spend nearly 50% of your fab, and that may sting because at some point you think James Conner is going to come back, but you got to do what you got to do. At this point of the season, you need W's. You have to be aggressive. Jaleel McLaughlin in there, we were aggressive getting him. I spent a bunch of fab on him last week because I had Javonte Williams. But when Williams comes back, this will be a 3-headed monster. But man, Jaleel, doesn't he look good with the ball in his hands? He's running with a purpose, really aggressive, catching passes out of the backfield. And Sean Payton does have a history of utilizing a lot of different running backs. You can go back to his Saints days. It wasn't just Alvin Kamara. We were seeing something, or Paris. Was it Paris? I want to say Paris. Oh man, I'm forgetting the name. It's not Paris Campbell, obviously. It doesn't matter. Harris, maybe? I forget. But it was certainly Ingram and Kamara there for a little bit. But Jaleel McLaughlin, uh, if he's probably picked up, but he is slightly under 60% in Yahoo. Deontay Foreman has been healthy scratches. It just now there's a time for him to be active and get some touches. This is like a deep league thing. To be honest with you, rest of the season, I would rather some guys behind him. Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Gainwell, Keaton Mitchell. Like Keaton Mitchell, it's very crowded in Baltimore. We've been talking about this backfield being a trap all year. Justice Hill had some nice moments, but Gus Edwards is still the lead. But Keaton Mitchell could, get in there and get some touches and just make it even more crowded. I think as long as everybody is healthy, it's Gus getting carries, it's Justice Hill, and then, a little bit of Mitchell. And if anything happens to anybody else, Melvin Gordon comes in and gets some touches too. But I think the backfield is a bit of a trap. And just have them own though. Like it's nice to have running back depth. That's why they're on here. But Lamar is more design runs for Lamar, and he's scoring some rushing touchdowns. Tajay Spears looks absolutely fantastic. I think he's such a great buy low in dynasty leagues. I think if you don't want to cut your season loss already through 5 weeks, but for Tajay Spears, if you could buy him, if there's an owner near the top that wants to get aggressive in getting a win now player, maybe they want to move on from Tajay Spears. I still like Derrick Henry overall as a running back, but Spears is he's doing things that, you just have to find a way to get him on the field if you're Mike Vrabel. That's it. It's plain and simple, right? I mean, 11 touches is the most he has had this past week, 69 total yards. He 4 grabs on 5 targets. He's got a catch in every single game. And so far he's got 14 grabs, and you're just seeing an uptick, right? Like, and even some of the carries he has, like 8 for 49, 5 for 40, 7 for 34, and a rushing touchdown. He's just making things happen. So if you aren't running back needy, like just a stash, he turns into a flex play moving forward, and a good buy low in dynasty leagues because there's a lot of tires in the tread for Mr. Henry, the king. And it looks like they got a good one in Tajay Spears there in Tennessee. Zach Charbonnet, could have been dropped coming off the bye, right? Seattle. I just noticed a little bit more work, and it's just a next man up type of deal. It's kind of covering your bases, so you don't have to rush to the waiver wire to get these guys. We talked about Roschon Johnson, next guy up, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet. We've been talking about these guys. Kenneth Gainwell. I get it. It's all DeAndre Swift, but it's one of the best offenses in football behind one of the best offensive lines and a team that runs the ball really, really well. So if anything happened to DeAndre Swift, who is yet to play a full season on his NFL career, Gainwell would be that next man up. And then you have him, and you're not rushing to the waiver wire and spending 45% of your fab just in case. But Charbonnet's the past couple weeks were pretty good for him. 9 for 46, 5 for 31. He's got 2 catches over the last 2 weeks. Typically, these rookie wide receivers, when they have that bye week in the first few weeks, you start to see a little bit of an uptick, right? Learning the playbook a little bit more, getting a little bit more familiar. I don't think he's going to overtake Kenneth Walker because Walker's been good, and that's an L I'll take. He's getting a lot of all the red zone work, basically, and he's scoring touchdowns. Like, I still don't think he's all that efficient, running the ball, but you can't ignore 5 rushing touchdowns, right? I mean, he's had 17 plus carries in 3 straight weeks, and he didn't have any receptions last week or any targets, but surprisingly, he's got 8 grabs on the season as well. P. Ryan, it's a crowded backfield, but he's still involved. So there are the running backs, and I'm going to switch over to wide receivers, and then I'll answer some of those other questions. But hopefully the rankings here helped you. Again, the biggest takeaway, if you need somebody now, you go to Amari. But I still like Roschon the rest of the season, Jeff Wilson the rest of the season, because when he is active and ready to go, we'll be ranking him as a top 24 running back. Look at what Miami is doing with these running backs. But you need bodies now. You got to, even Justice Hill, I'd move up a touch. You need guys now. But I think Foreman is going to play behind Roschon Johnson. I think we're really going to see Roschon get some targets. It's possible that Foreman could be the goal line back there, but Roschon showed us that he can catch some passes out of the backfield too when the Bears are down. I'm excited for him. And hopefully Herbert hasn't gone too long. Here are the wide receiver rankings. KJ Osborne. I almost feel like it's a touch of a trap. Justin Jefferson being sidelined. Jordan Addison may be out there. He's been a tough guy to start, but he has had some touchdowns. He's going to see an uptick automatically, but it has been Osborne's playing more snaps, running more routes. It is an offense that's pass happy with Kevin O'Connell. And Kirk Cousins is a top quarterback. I think he's quarterback 5 on the season. Kirk Cousins, despite the fact that the Vikings are not winning any ball games, is not on Kirk Cousins. Cousins is quarterback 4. He has nearly 1,500 passing yards, 13 passing touchdowns. The defense can't get any stops for him, so he's chucking like a madman. KJ Osborne, I just, the reason I think it could be like a potential trap is just like Hawkinson and, Jordan Addison there. But I think he's certainly the top wide receiver pickup, wide receiver low end 3, maybe flex, as long as Justin Jefferson is sidelined. Again, it is a really good offense, and it's a pass happy one, and a great play caller in Kevin O'Connell, and a good quarterback in Kirk Cousins that takes a lot of heat. I wouldn't feel comfortable spending like 45% fab on KJ Osborne. Like these wide receivers, I feel like we've been talking about for weeks. Like, why is Joshua Palmer under 60% owned? I understand that Yahoo, there's a lot of 8-team and 10-team leagues out there, and it's tough to roster these guys. But Osborne and Palmer are top 35 wide receiver 3s at least, and Palmer maybe even more so the rest of the way than Osborne, just considering that Mike Williams is not coming back, and that Justin Jefferson may come back. So it's almost like it's a short-term thing, because when Justin Jefferson's back, KJ Osborne is not worth a start. Like Palmer's kind of rest of the way, but I do like Osborne a little bit more in the short term as for Palmer. Josh Downs, we've talked about him a little bit on this show. With Anthony Richardson going down, unfortunately, I think that as much as I like to see Anthony Richardson playing and he was a good fantasy target, the offense, at least the weapons like Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, are going to be better with Gardner Minshew. And we saw 6 targets, 6 grabs, and 97 yards. A game against Baltimore, right when we saw Minshew, 12 targets, 8 grabs, and 57 yards. So Alec Pierce was a guy that's been playing over him over the past couple of weeks and more snaps, but Josh Downs has a much higher ceiling. Alec Pierce has struggled with drops over the short course of his career, and Downs is a good waiver wire target. And as I mentioned, Minshew is a good quarterback. I mean, he's the best backup quarterback in the NFL, I think. And he's going to get the ball to some of his guys, and this offense won't be that bad. I think it's actually going to be a little bit better, with no shots at Anthony Richardson, but he was averaging 160 passing yards per game. Wasn't that dead last in the NFL? This is good news for everybody in the offense. Curtis Samuel is here. Again, we have to pour one out for Jahan Dotson. That's a big L for me, but hopefully you drafted Puka Nacua and you're on your way. You win some, you lose some, okay? I had Joe Burrow as a sit this week. And, people were telling me to go off myself. Like, what the heck, man? Joe Burrow had a breakout game. It was great. But how could you trust him rolling him out every week? Because he didn't look healthy, but he looked healthy that week. And these things happen. It's tough, man. I feel awful when I give bad advice, but I'm not going to get everything right. You got to try to learn from it. I think the process was right. And I would sell Joe Burrow. I know that he looked healthy in that game, and I'm getting sidetracked here, but I would sell high on Joe Burrow after that, because he's got the bye in week 7. Out of the bye, he's got San Fran and Buffalo. He's got in Baltimore week 11. I would sell him. I would move on from him because of the schedule, but it was a good game. Anyways, Jahan Dotson is not worth your time. I think he's a good wide receiver, but Sam Howell is not throwing the football to him, and Curtis Samuel is getting targets. It's like he was doing this last year. The ceiling isn't high, but the floor is not bad. Like double-digit fantasy points in back-to-back weeks. Got 15 targets and 13 grabs, over 100 yards in those 2 games. He had a rushing touchdown against the Eagles in week 4. He had a receiving touchdown against the Bears in week 5. He's on the field. He's getting targets. They're finding a way to get the ball in his hands. Quentin Johnson had the uptick, when in the first game without Mike Williams, but still playing behind Joshua Palmer. And I still like Palmer the rest of the way. Like, this isn't a dynasty league or a keeper league. I would like Quentin more, but rest of the season, I like Palmer more. Rashee Rice just continues to trend up. Like, this is the Kansas City wide receiver to own. And this could be a week where we see a little bit more from Kadarius Toney. So he's on the list. Another L that I have. Maybe I just have all kinds of L's, right? Sky Moore is another one that I have, but we've got a couple things right. And, it's highs and lows. But Rashee Rice, I haven't seen a whole lot from him. 2 weeks with double-digit fantasy points. He's had to have touchdowns in those weeks, 5 targets, 4 grabs, and a touchdown. I just noticed that, he's at least consistently getting those targets, where Sky Moore and Kadarius disappear. MVS doesn't do a whole lot. Don't get fantasy points for running routes and playing snaps. But he's getting some looks inside the red zone. And this week, if there was no If there was no Travis Kelce, I wouldn't aggressively rank Rashee Rice because Mahomes is still going to spread things around and lean on the running backs. But I would say he's worthy of a flex play. Like, he should be owned, right? His ownership is 39%. He should be rostered. We said this for the past couple of weeks. Like, what are we doing? Why is Brandon Cooks more owned than Michael Gallup? And man, Dallas and Dak, I know it was against the Niners, but what a butt whooping that was, right? Wow. We knew the Niners were good. We had them number one in our power rankings last week, but there is a massive gap between them and everybody else. And I'm a big Eagles guy, but the Niners are legit across the board. And the Cowboys, maybe that's their ceiling, is just like the third best team or the fourth best team in the NFC. And they are not going to get by San Fran. We'll see if they can get by Philly, Dallas or Denver Denver's the worst team in football. Detroit, the Lions. I think they're in a better spot than Dallas at the moment. The defense is still really good. But anyways, Michael Gallup over the past couple of weeks, 7 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets. Last week was a mess for everybody. This spot against the Chargers, that should be a fun game. Monday Night Football, Kellen Moore against his former squad. But Gallup is trending up. And I know Gallup didn't do anything last year, but it was his first year coming back from the significant injury. It takes a little bit of time. He was trending up before the injury. Remember, they gave him that big contract. I think he's got a higher ceiling here than Brandon Cooks at the moment. So I would just go ahead and make that swap, 22% ownership there. Elijah Moore, we didn't see Deshaun Watson when the last time the Cleveland Browns played. Elijah Moore has had some drops and, he's had some okay moments. But he's had 3 games with 7 targets, and those 3 games with Deshaun Watson, back-to-back games with 9. I really like the schedule coming up for Cleveland after this week. Like, I wouldn't start Elijah Moore this week, and maybe people won't pick him up because they see San Fran, but Indy, Seattle, Arizona is a couple decent spots there. Volume, we're digging deep here. Jonathan Mingo, how about Adam Thielen, man? This guy's turning out to be a league winner, but Jonathan Mingo is coming off a game where he had 5 catches and 48 yards, career high for him. 7 targets. He did have a game with 8 targets. Chark found the end zone. Carolina is they're not really moving the ball. Bryce Young is struggling. He's near the bottom in yards per attempt and completion percentage and passing yards. But this is a team that's going to be playing from behind quite a bit, and they're not getting much at all on the ground from Miles Sanders or Chuba Hubbard. I think Miles is hurt at the moment. He's a guy that you just need to stay on your bench. You can drop him in an 8-team league or potentially a 10-team league, but you want to have the running back depth because it's like next man up sort of deal. And you just want to have that just in case he gets healthy. He was catching some balls out of the backfield early on. But Mingo's on here. Kadarius Toney is what we just talked about with Travis Kelce. And Kadarius Toney, overdrafted. He was a bust for us, but 6 targets, 5 grabs, 26 yards. So he's not doing a whole lot out there, but it's deep league. I don't know how deep everyone's leagues are. And Michael Wilson, I left Rondale Moore off the list. I see him trending up a little bit, and he may get a couple more carries or end arounds just because of, James Conner being out, but I just don't see where the ceiling is for Rondale Moore. I think there's a higher ceiling here for Michael Wilson. He's got the higher ADOT. Nothing to show for last week. That was one of the props that we got wrong on the show. 2 targets, 1 grab, 18 yards, but I still like him. Didn't see a whole lot, but I still think he's got the second highest ceiling on Arizona behind Hollywood, who had another good game and scored a touchdown. All right. So those are the waiver wire. It's the waiver wire stuff. We could do some quarterbacks here. For me, in my league, I had a couple shares of Anthony Richardson. So, Yahoo allows you to add players. You could drop players that were on your bench, and I think Javonte Williams he was out. So I put him on IR and I picked up Matthew Stafford immediately. That would be the guy that I would be looking for. Like, if you had Anthony Richardson or another quarterback that was hurt, like, I don't know, Superflex, definitely all these guys are owned, but what comes to me is Anthony Richardson is that guy that a lot of people had. So Stafford's ownership is 57%. He's among the leaders in passing yards and passing attempts. He just got his guy Cooper Kupp back. So he's been playing pretty good too. He's got 3 games with 300 passing yards, and just having Cooper Kupp back and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell found the end zone against the Eagles. Like, Matthew Stafford is a borderline top 12 quarterback the rest of the way for me. Russell Wilson is currently a top 12 quarterback. It's finally good to see Brock Purdy owned, right? It's just, I felt like a broken record all off season. It started off with Trey Lance getting drafted ahead of Brock Purdy and in best ball leagues, but Brock Purdy is now perfect in the regular season. He tosses 2 touchdowns every week. We're going to look at MVP odds here in a second. He's among the leaders in completion percentage and yards per attempt. I mean, he's I don't know, always a lot of pushback that there's no ceiling with Brock Purdy. That 17 fantasy points is not good enough, but it was a very small sample size last year, but he had more fantasy points than Kirk Cousins, and he had more fantasy points than Justin Herbert. These are per game totals, and Trevor Lawrence. And what he's doing now, like 16, 14 in the first couple games, 20, 21, 26. The schedule, have you guys looked at the schedule? This weekend's against Cleveland is not ideal, but Minnesota, Cincy, Jacksonville, Seattle, Philly. In Philly, be tough, but teams are throwing on him. Seattle and Arizona come week 1 in the playoffs. He's just got so many yak monsters. Shanahan's just a brilliant play caller. He should be rostered. CJ Stroud now finally getting rostered, our highest owned quarterback in best ball leagues. And I thought that was a Ponemoji bats because he wasn't having a good preseason, but he still is yet to throw a pick. I set an NFL record for the most pass attempts to start a career without a pick. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Tough spot against the Saints. He's going to get tested against the Saints defense, for sure. But it's another pass happy offense. I would say he's owned everywhere, but these are guys that should be there in the borderline top 12 quarterback conversation. But Stafford is the big one, the big pickup. And, I would probably lean Sam Howell over Baker. I'm not sure about Mike Williams or Mike Evans's history at the moment, but Howell's never going to be, I had that argument with Jake on the Sirius show. He's never going to be a top 12 quarterback. I know he's hanging around as a top 12 quarterback, but he's never going to be in my starting lineup in a single quarterback league. But I think Stafford is the guy to consider, and he's not just a stream, he's the rest of the way. And then defenses that we like to stream defenses here on this show when we can. We've been rolling with the Saints. The Saints are one of our favorite pickups. Just continue to play them every single week. I don't think I'll ever stop playing the Saints. Great last week against the Pats and Mac Jones. My goodness. I think Atlanta is a decent streaming option. And because of Mac Jones and the Patriots, I think that the Raiders are certainly out there as a streaming option. They're 3% owned. Minnesota against Chicago. I don't know. I'm not really feeling that one. Bears offense doing some pretty good things. The Rams against Arizona, I'm not overly feeling that one either, but that is an option. Jacksonville can make some things happen there. Tennessee against Baltimore, not doing it. Houston against New Orleans, not doing it. New Orleans should be rostered everywhere at this point, but I'm actually only seeing them in 76%. But they're a top 10 defense the rest of the way in fantasy, and I had them ranked that way. I'm not surprised to see them play good defense. Cincinnati against Seattle, I've seen them as one of the most picked up. I'm not into it. Tampa against Detroit, not totally into it either. I would say maybe Seattle against Joe Burrow and company because of a few sacks, but the Raiders are probably that streaming option, that pickup. A lot of comments, a lot of questions. So we're going to get into them right now. I think we got to this, right? It's Amari over Foreman. If Moss is available on waivers, is he a priority over Foreman? No. It's a great question. But I don't think so, man. Like Taylor's it may turn into like, it may be 60-40 for the first couple weeks. Like Taylor is just getting his feet wet this season, hasn't really been practicing. So I could see maybe this week it being like a 60-40 thing, but I would go with Amari, and I think I would go Moss over Foreman. If we hear what the extent of the injury is today with Herbert, if it's like really significant, then I would go Foreman over Moss. But Taylor should be fine, and he should get a bulk of the work once they get going, right? That was his first game. He was going to be on a snap count, that's for sure. I would sell Moss, but of course he's available on your waiver wire because everyone dropped him. All right, what do we got here? 18 PPR, 2 flex. These ones are tough, man, because like those waiver wires are always loaded. 2 flex. Fields, you got Bijan, Kyron, Kupp, Olave, Ridley, Chase, Hawkinson. Man, lots going on there. Burrow, Rashee Rice, Waddle, Palmer, Downs, Amari, redraft 3 and 2. So what's the okay? So I trade Olave, Ridley, and Waddle for Adams and Kirk, or keep my depth. Keep your depth. No way I would make that trade, dude. I would love to get Olave, Ridley, and Waddle for that. I don't know. Kirk is having some nice moments. But no, keep your depth. Keep your depth, man. Injuries happen, as you see. This is a week where I think it's going to be the craziest waiver wire week to date. People are going to be aggressive, throwing fab all over the place. Just how quickly things can change in fantasy. Like you feel like you're rolling, and all of a sudden you lose, a Chan and Justin Jefferson, and it's really tough. Richardson was your quarterback or something. So I'd keep your depth. It's very important. I don't think you have a lot of holes here. I don't think that you got good wide receivers. Kupp's your wide receiver one, Olave's in there, Ridley's in there, Chase. Like you got some good pieces here. I think that if you were going to do anything, it's like a running back. Like keep your wide receivers. Maybe you move on from one of these guys, maybe Ridley, and you roll a Kupp, Olave, and Chase, come playoff time. You got Waddle on your bench, and Palmer and Downs is real nice. And then you could trade one of these guys for like an upgrade at running back. Like Kyron's a sell high for me. I don't know if he can hold up over the full course of a season. And Demarcado is he's going to get some touches here, but Connor could come back. So if you're doing anything, I would think about moving them for running back help. I think DJ Moore over Justin Jefferson the rest of the season. Am I crazy here? Like this is one of the things that we got right. Like we will take this one to the bank. I mean, DJ Moore, I didn't expect him to be this awesome, but I think that, just people don't like Justin Fields. I think the best quarterback he's ever played with. I know he had some moments with Cam Newton, but there was a lot of bad quarterbacks in Carolina. These guys are hitting their stride, like back-to-back weeks with 8 catches. He's got 3 100-yard games. He's got 500 yards already, 5 touchdowns. He's 2 away from matching his career high. He's on pace for 1,800 yards, which would shatter his career high of 1,100. And Justin Jefferson's gone. Like if I was in first place at 5-0, like give me Justin Jefferson. But a little bit of context here. You're getting 4 of the next 4 weeks for DJ Moore. When in 5 weeks, I'd rather have Justin Jefferson. But those 4 weeks are significant. That's a month of fantasy football. Half PPR you're in. I lean DJ Moore, dude. And I may be wrong. Ask some other people, but I may be wrong on that one. Half-point trade, Fields for Jay Ford. I have Josh Allen. Current backups are Kyron White, Najee Herbert. Okay, Fields. I mean, you got Josh Allen, so what's the point? You don't need 2 quarterbacks. I think he can do better. Jerome Ford, he's getting some touches. I don't believe in Kareem Hunt. He's going to play over him. He's catching balls out of the backfield. I feel like you can do a little bit better. No, can't you get a low in RB1 or a high in RB2? I don't know. It's tough to trade with people, Romeo. I'm fine with it. I would maybe even float Josh Allen out there, and who knows what you can get for Josh Allen. And Fields is a top 5-6 quarterback. I know there's a bit of a drop off there, but I would just consider like, hey guys, Josh Allen's available. What could I get for Josh Allen? Can I get a top 5 running back? Can I get a top 5 wide receiver? It's possible. Just make them available and see what you can do. These trade questions are great. I kind of like to see what else is on your team just for a little bit of context, but trade CD, Joe Mixon, George Kittle for Kelsey. No, don't do that. Don't do that at all. You're trading you're trading 3 guys for Kelsey here, and Kelsey's not 100% at the moment. George Kittle, there's not a significant drop off between Kittle and Kelsey. There isn't. 3 touchdowns last week. I'm buying. We had the over 5.5 touchdowns for Kittle as a prop on this show. Just needs a couple more. Mixon's not doing a whole lot, but he's a guy that's getting a lot of touches. He's not going to lose his job. He's just getting touches. You're giving up a lot. I would love to trade Kelsey for all 3 of those guys. So I'm not there, man. I'm not there. I know Kelsey's the GOAT, but couple injuries now for Kelsey to start the season and then this foot. So no, I wouldn't do it. I don't have anything concrete here on Achan on the injury. All I know is that it is multiple weeks and it's possible he's placed on IR. So I don't know the latest here, T-Bag. I'm not 100% sure, dude. And I would be speculating multiple weeks, right? A couple weeks. That's why, Jeff Wilson, I think is a pretty good pickup. Should I pick up Logan Thomas off waivers or do I stick with Jake Ferguson and Njoku? I wouldn't stick with Njoku. I would pick up Logan Thomas over Njoku. I think that Njoku is the better talent, but I'm not seeing it right now. And, sometimes you just have to live in the moment and cut your losses. And Logan Thomas is a guy that is getting targets. I mean, he's a guy actually, we've talked about a couple times over the past couple of years as like little catch props and things like that. It's like always scratching the surface of being a top 12 tight end, but currently he is. Of course, he's coming off the massive game where he had 9 catches, 77 yards and a touchdown, but 8 targets in week 1, had a touchdown in week 2. I like Ferguson. I still like Ferguson. I haven't checked at the latest red zone opportunities and targets, but heading into the week, he was number 1 among tight ends in targets and catches. And we did have that right in the prop shop in the pick tracker over 25.5 receiving yards. Dak is leaning on him, like more so than Brennan Cooks, right? It's Dak is the number 2 target in Dallas is Jake Ferguson. So I would get Logan Thomas in there and move on from Njoku. And I know that's a tough pill because I really do like Njoku as a player. Yeah, multiple weeks, right? There's nothing, couple weeks. Yes, you guys are, you don't even need me here. You guys are super sharp. You're just giving advice. I love it. Minshew throws more. He not only does he throw more, Steichen's going to trust him to throw more, and he's more accurate. And that's good news for everybody in the Colts offense. Is Michael Thomas droppable for any of these guys? Ooh, great question. Let's bring that back up. I do like Michael Thomas. It's been a couple dud weeks from him, right? Because of the injury to Derek Carr, I think, not pushing the ball down the field as much. But Michael Thomas, just take a look at some snap counts and still, I think that you must be in a bit of a shallower league. I think that Osborne, Palmer, and Downs are. Josh Reynolds on this list because nobody likes Josh Reynolds. I don't know why. Right? He scored a touchdown again. I know there's no Amon-Ra. He scores touchdowns when Amon-Ra plays. And what we said about Jameson, was very true. This week he hardly played, limited. He's not going to be a big volume guy. He's going to be like a deep threat guy. I would hang on to Michael Thomas, KJ Osborne, Palmer, Downs. Like those are the guys. I like Michael Thomas over all the rest of them. He's still getting targets like 6, 7, 8. He's had at least 6 targets in every game. I know he hasn't found the end zone yet. 6 for 50 doesn't, excite you all that much, but that's kind of what a lot of these guys are doing, like Samuel, Rashee Rice, Gallup. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at there. Let's get back to some of the questions. There's a few more here. Ooh, there's lots, and I love this. I'm here for it. Where were we last? Okay, we got a question here. Trade Pierce and Laporta for Mixon. No. You have Andrews. Can you trade Andrews? Trade Andrews. Laporta's good. He's tight end 1 of the season. Trade Andrews. RBs would be Taylor Swift, eh? That's funny. Your running backs would be Taylor Swift, Brees, Stevenson, and Mixon. Let's see here. Trade Pierce. No, I don't think I'm into this. Like Mixon's got a little bit of a higher ceiling than Pierce, but it's almost like a sideways move. It's a touch. Can you trade Andrews? Your running backs are fine. You got Taylor Swift, Brees, and Stevenson, and Mixon. Okay. Oh, so you're trading Mixon. You're trading Mixon for those guys. Yes. And then you have Andrews already, though. So that's why I was confused. You have Andrews. You're wondering if you should acquire Laporta. I would say yes. Make that move. Get Laporta and Pierce, and then trade Andrews. Trade Andrews if you can. Like try to see if there's any flyers out there. I mean, he's still good tight end. If I would rank him the rest of the way, it would be it's like Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Andrews. That's how it's been for me for weeks. Laporta's right there next. But the fact that people may not buy into Laporta and they're looking to sell high on him, and then Andrews is that bigger name. He's more proven, and you just get more for it. You're trying to stack the running backs because the receivers are also strong. Has Lamb, AJ, DJ Moore, London, and Pittman. Yeah, you're in a good spot there. Yeah, I want to jump in. Thank you, Chris. I saw the nonsense. Oh, no, all good, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, all the comments that the fantasy community's kind of come together over the last little bit. I wasn't even going to say that, but it's all good. Had Joe Burrow as a sit, it didn't work out. You win some, you lose some. You know what? You lose more than you win. Probably in life altogether. I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but you lose most. You win some, you lose most. Hey, George.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
That's it. That's it. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And that wasn't good advice. It wasn't good advice. Yeah. And yeah, I was getting some bashing on the start. So I don't want to get into it. It's all good. You guys are nice for bringing it up, and I appreciate the comments. You know, I don't take it to I don't take it to heart. I mean, the biggest thing for me is I do want to give good advice. I don't want to steer you guys wrong. Like, I want you guys to win ships. Like, it's not selfishly for me. Oh, more views, more hits, more followers. I don't care about any of that crap, really. This is what I like to do. I love sports. It's October. It's the best month to be a sports fan. We're talking hockey. We're talking baseball playoffs. Football's in week 6 here. College basketball around the corner. This is what I live for, man. I absolutely love it. And I play a lot of fantasy. I sprinkle a lot of bets. And I'm just here to create a distraction and steer you guys in the right direction. I'm just not going to get all these right. And I don't want to come in here with, I want to come in with a bold take. Oh, why don't you sit Bryce Young? Cool. Good stuff. Yeah. Sit Bryce Young. Why don't you sit Brennan Cooks? Cool. You know what I mean? Like, I want to come in with some bold takes, like tough decisions. It didn't work out for us. It's all good. But I agree. Like, and all you guys asking for starter questions, like, you guys haven't, I'm sure I've steered you wrong. You guys haven't come at me and say like, go drown in the Boston Harbor, bud. Like, you haven't. One guy told me that in Boston once. It's because I was wearing a Canadians hat. But you guys are pretty good with it. You know, steer in the wrong direction. You can only, trust the process, learn from it, and carry on. But yeah, the people who ask for advice on who to start or sit and can't make their own decision. And I know you guys can all make your decision. I'm just trying to help educated guess. I find it a little odd that people will come at you that strong for advice, but it's all good, man. We'll carry on here. Would you trade Mostert for James Cook and Jalen Warren? So this is a little bit of context. Oh, you're giving me some here, Jacob, and I appreciate this. So you are telling me the rest of your team. Love this. So Mostert, James Cook. Oh, you got Mostert. You're wanting to trade him for James Cook and Jalen Warren. You're looking for RB depth. You currently have Bijan, Mostert, Miles Sanders. Ooh, yeah, I know, Miles. And man, he was looking good to start. I just don't think he's healthy at the moment. And they can't move the ball. Roschon Johnson, you're concerned Jeff Wilson may steal touches. You should be concerned about that. But I don't know, because once you trade him, then it's like Mostert and James Cook, Warren. Yeah, I guess I kind of lean this way, but Mostert, I view him as even with a Chan there, he was still a top 12 back, but now Wilson comes and it's crowded. When a Chan comes back, like, what does it look like with all 3 guys there? James Cook, what I will say about Cook is, this is one we weren't wrong on. I think this is going to continue. He's a between the 20s runner. He's getting a couple catches. Latavius is getting goal line work. Latavius is playing as a 3rd down back. They like Latavius Murray, and we could see some Damian Harris as a goal line back, but he is an RB2, and Jalen Warren is a good flex play. Like, Warren, this is one thing we've gotten right too over at FTM Bets. We just continue to hammer his catch prop and his receiving yard prop. Does he have, I know he's got catches in every single game, and you know what? He is really close to, it's 50-50 now. Like, Najee's getting carries and he's still acting as the lead, but Warren now 8 carries, 9 carries, more efficient, at least 3 catches in every single game, 2 with 5 and 6 and another one with 4. He's turning into a pretty decent flex play, to the point where I would play him over Miles Sanders. It looks like he got something there with Roschon. I'm a little hesitant because Mostert is the best player of the 3. He does have the highest ceiling of the 3. It is Miami, but you're looking for bench depth, so I'm okay with it. I think you could do a touch better, but I'm okay with it. Like, yeah, I mean, let's roll. I'll give you the stamp of approval there, Jacob, if you needed it. Ravens D this week. Who do the Ravens have again? Ravens D. Let's take a look. My apologies. I just don't have all these ready to go. Ravens. Where you at? Baltimore. Oh, Tennessee. Yeah. Titans. Sure. That was a good game from Hopkins, by the way. He looked like vintage Hopkins. Sell high. No, there's only one guy catching passes in Indiana and in Tennessee, and it is Hopkins. So you just hang on to him. He's like a wide receiver 3. He's just overdrafted. But Baltimore D. I don't know what else is available for you, but Baltimore D is a little bit more of a I guess it's a better play than the Raiders. The Raiders can get some pressure on the quarterback, so that's kind of why I'd like them in this spot coming up this week. But yeah, you could roll with Baltimore there. You could roll. I don't see the Raiders on this board. Are they at George? Okay, let's continue. We got a couple more questions, and then we're gonna bounce. We got an NHL, one more high stakes draft in here. Let's get back to seeing the ugly mug, and we'll get some questions here. A couple more. Michael Thomas, double digit. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, I would hang on, man. He's still got the high ceiling. Don't cut him. On 12 people league, but Osborne, Reynolds, Curtis Samuel are available. Gotcha. Maybe Thomas for Osborne, but definitely not the other two. I would just keep MT. MT's fine. It looks healthy. Traded Ertz, Gibbs, and Pittman for Almoner straight up. Any thoughts? It's a lot, but you got the best player in the deal. Ertz is nothing, and Gibbs is a flex, and now he's dealing with a hamstring. So it could be, as my buddy Mikey O says, it's GG. He's got Gibbs, and now he's dealing with a hammy, and he's playing behind Montgomery. It's all over for him. Flex at best. You're getting the best player in the deal. I think you did good there. I'm all for those packages, especially if you're like up near the top. Like if you are in a good middle of the pack, up near the top, you probably already have a good team. But like go and take advantage of your league mates, man. Take advantage of all of those league mates that need wins, desperately need wins, and that are willing to do anything just for healthy bodies. Then you can package like 2 or 3 and get the best player available. Way you go. Yeah, he's trying to get Mixon. Let him have him. Go for it. And then trade Andrews, right? That's so good. Sometimes good, sometimes shit. Half point PPR, 6-point passing touchdown. Hurts and Ford for Cousins and JT. I don't think. I think I'd rather Hurts and Ford. I know JT is such a massive upgrade over Ford, and Kirk is right close, but now he loses Justin Jefferson for the next few weeks. And Jalen Hurts is he's an MVP, man. You just know you're getting 20 fantasy points from this guy week in and week out. Yeah, it depends how thin you are at running back. Like if you're rolling out Ford as like your RB1 or is your RB2 is your second best running back, I don't mind it. Kirk Cousins is going to continue to sling. He's going to continue to sling. Adults only, please. For your eyes only. I have Bijan, K9, and Brees at RB, so I'll never use Gibbs. Yeah. Good trade. Would you trade Puka and Walker for Henry and Adams? Good question. I'm leaning no, and I didn't think I would. Like originally, that'd be like, Adams over Puka and Henry over Walker. But I got to look at the schedule here. The schedule isn't. It is actually important for me for more so for running backs than for wide receivers. And Henry's fine, but he only has 100-yard game, 13 carries. Like Spears is getting in the way. And it's kind of smart for Tennessee to do this. They need a change of pace guy. He looks fresher. He looks more explosive at the moment. He can catch balls out of the backfield. And it does keep Kenneth Walker. I got to see Walker's schedule here. It just has some tough spots, man. He's got Cleveland week 8, which is not good for running backs. You got the Rams week 11, tough. San Fran week 12 and week 14. San Fran. That's give me the Henry Adams side. That's enough for me. I don't want to be starting Kenneth Walker against San Fran week 12, and I don't want to be starting him week 14 when I need a win potentially to get into the playoffs. And then week 15, they got the Eagles. So I would make that trade. And you know what? I just don't want to trade Puka, but you're getting Adams. I'd make the move. Ugh. Trade Pierce for Stevenson? Nah. I mean, Stevenson's just not doing anything. Like it's 8 carries. Like, oh my goodness, 12 for 25, 15 for 50. I didn't even think it was this bad. I knew it was bad, and he's not catching a lot of passes out of the backfield. He's got 2 catches in the last 2 games. Pierce is at least the guy. Like Pierce is the guy where Zeke is getting touches, and they didn't even get close to the goal line. And they get close to the goal line, it would be Zeke. I mean, Pierce, you can't ignore this. 24 carries, 20 carries. He's got a catch in every single game. I know he's only got one touchdown, but he's just the guy there. I just give me Pierce. I volume is very, very king. I mean, so this is a little bit of a split here. So I get it, right? Henry's risky, but this is kind of what I was thinking. The schedule is a lot better than Walker's. Like Walker is showing us more, and I'm thinking like right away, quick. I'd rather have him the rest of the way. But when you look into the schedule and you look in the matchups, Walker a couple against San Fran and Philly in crunch time worries me a little bit. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you guys are all super sharp. You give your comments. Maybe there's one that you can roll with, but I'm a little bit worried about the schedule there. These are the ones that are available for you. Vikings, Seahawks. I think Baltimore is the better one. Right? The offensive line in Tennessee is pretty brutal. Kind of fed up in running backs because of kind of effed up in running backs because of Saquon O'Connor's availability. Got McLaughlin on the bench. Hopefully, you got a Murray there and Jeff Wilson from the waiver wire. Good luck. Love it. No, they don't. Volume is king. I would agree. Schedule doesn't mean a lot if you're not getting the touches. Henry's still getting the touches, though. He's still getting carries. He's still the goal line back there. It's tough. It's really, really tight. I think we like Adams more than Puka rest of the way. It's a lot closer than you would expect. Weird game yesterday. Green Bay did some good things to kind of, triple Devontae, and there wasn't really a lot there. But maybe you're looking into it a little bit too much, but I like to look at schedules. I like to look at schedules that I know come week 14 against San Fran and come week 15 against Philly. Those are not spots that I like. But at the same time, you got to get there. You got to get to the playoffs, and then everything, it's just really a crapshoot. Once you're there, once you get to the dance, anything can happen. And the crew isn't wrong here. Walker is showing us more than Derrick Henry is at the moment. So maybe you stay true to what you got. Maybe you just consider selling Walker a little bit later on in the season for somebody better because of those playoff matchups. Man, I had some waiver wire stuff. I had some other things here, and I do want to show it. I mean, I'll dive into it a little bit more on Thursday's episode, but I wanted to show this because George did it for us. And I really just wanted to bring attention to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a guy that we talked about all off season. And the 16-1 is now gone for Brock Purdy, but he is among the leaders. Can he win the MVP with CMC playing so good and being on this board at 15-1? Can he win the MVP only throwing 28 to 30 passing touchdowns and only having maybe 4,000 yards when Mahomes and Josh Allen could toss 45 plus and have 5,000 yards passing? Can he do it? I think yes. I think the voters love Brock Purdy's story. I think that the voters are big on QB wins, and that's a conversation for another day. But if the Niners go 16-1 or 15-2, or should I say it, undefeated, because they are that good, and Brock Purdy continues to be 1 or 2 in completion percentage or yards per attempt, it doesn't turn the ball over and has like some sort of 28-4 touchdown interception ratio, it looks like MVP to me. I think this number will continue to get shorter. I think he could potentially struggle this week in Cleveland, but the offense, the Yak Monsters and Kittle and Ayuk and Debo and CMC, and the play calling from McCaffrey or from Shanahan, and the defense being as rock solid as it is, putting them in situations to succeed. And I know that Brock Purdy's not going to have a lot of games where he racks up 45 pass attempts and 350 passing yards, but he's just doing enough. I think he's definitely in the MVP conversation. Josh Allen is got a higher ceiling and probably worth your time at 7-1. But I do believe Purdy is as well at 7-1. CMC at 15-1. We just haven't seen this in a long time. It's usually a quarterback award. Trevor Lawrence at 22-1, not buying it. Lamar not buying it. Herbert at 25, a little sprinkle, but not totally buying it. Jared Goff in there as well. Mahomes at favorite at plus 450. Tua had a rough game. A couple picks there against the Giants at plus 475. I have sprinkled Purdy at 16-1. And I would still do it today. at 17-1. Here are the Super Bowl odds, courtesy of DraftKings. The Niners at plus 350, the Chiefs at plus 550, the Birds at 8-1, the Dolphins at 9-1, the Bills at plus 950, the Lions at 15-1, the Cowboys at 15-1, the Ravens at 22-1. We have the Bengals, Browns, Chargers, and Jags at 28-1, the Seahawks at 35-1, the Saints at 40-1. Those two bottom teams stand out to me as sprinkles. I like Seattle and I like New Orleans. I like both of these teams. We had Seattle as a playoff squad. We had the Saints winning the division. Not yet there, of course. You know, there's some teams that are playing good football inside that division, Tampa being one of those squads, the Falcons. It's going to be a race towards the end, but I believe in the Saints defense. I actually believe in Derek Carr to do enough with the weapons surrounding him, and I think they're well coached at 40-1. Of course, they will have to go through the Niners or the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are just frauds. They just are, right? They have been for the past couple of years. And for them, they're going to have to get through San Fran, and they just have not showed us they can do it. 2 straight losses in the playoffs in each of the last 2 years. McCarthy, it needs to be out the door, and Dak just doesn't have it. And he just doesn't have it. He's throwing picks, and the Niners are so much better. And with that loss, if you look at the Cowboys schedule, it's extremely tough. You're going to get a larger number soon. I mean, especially if they lose to the Chargers here soon. Like this is a team that could be the 7th seed. They got the Chargers, they got the Rams, they got Philly. They'll have Philly again. They got Seattle week 13. They're in Buffalo week 15. They're in Miami week 16. They wrap up against Detroit. It's a really tough schedule for Dallas. It's all kind of lining up for them to play maybe Philly in the 2 seed. Maybe they have a road game in Detroit. Maybe they're playing in New Orleans. Those aren't games that I would give the Cowboys. At this moment in time, I like Detroit. I like the Saints more than the Cowboys. And I love their defense. It's great. Losing Diggs stinks. But Dak at the moment, definitely a huge gap. Niners are number 1 for me. Philly is number 2. I like Buffalo more than KC in terms of power rankings, but it's hard to count out Mahomes, right? 5 AFC every year, AFC championship, Super Bowl AFC championship. They'll figure it out. Defense is better than what we give them credit for too. Like those are the top 4 teams for me. Then Miami, then Detroit, then I would go Dallas. Then I would probably I like Seattle and I like the Saints. I like them more than the Chargers. I like them more than the Bengals. I like them more than the Browns and the Ravens. I think, Buffalo is a good bet here at plus 950. San Fran is not a good bet at plus 350. Promo code. Love that. And then the Eagles at 8-1. It's going to come down to those 2 teams. I fully believe it. They're going to play each other. Thank you for that. We did get breaking news from Albert at the start of the show, but we love that one. Van Jefferson to the Falcons. Thank you, George, for that. Not a big fantasy impact there in that trade. Just good stuff for Tutu Atwell. San Fran and Philly are going to play each other at the link. That one will be for home field. But I would say the Niners get that number 1 seed. Even if Philadelphia wins that game, I would say the Niners get that number 1 seed. And that it's just so important. It really is the difference to have to go into Philadelphia where Brock Purdy, the pressure was on him, and it's a tough place to play in Philly. It's windy, that time of the year as well. Tough for quarterbacks, a hostile environment. But it's having to go in San Fran. It really is the difference. It really is the difference. And when I look at the Eagles' schedule coming up, man, you're going to have in New York against the Jets is not going to be easy for them this week. Miami week 7, in Washington, the Commanders play them tough. Then it gets really tough for them week 9 on. Week 9, they got Dallas. Then they got the bye. Then week 11, they're in KC, who also coming off a bye. And Andy Reid has a history of winning all those games coming after a bye, dating back to his days in Philly. Arrowhead, that should be a good Monday Night Football game. Then after KC, they're home to Buffalo, and you can't tell me that they're not going to be looking ahead at week 13, which they're home to San Fran. Then week 15, they got to go to Dallas, and then week 15, they have to go to Seattle. So this is Dallas, KC, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas, and Seattle. That's 6 tough matchups in a row. So San Fran is got it going on right now. They look like the most complete team in football, and I don't think it's very, very close. They will have that number 1 seed, and I think that they'll be hosting. So we could see Philly and Dallas. We could see Seattle and Detroit, and we could see the Saints. Maybe it's the Falcons or the Bucks as one of those other teams. Looking ahead, it's only 5 weeks in, but pretenders and contenders. Pretenders, Cowboys, Browns, Ravens, Chargers, contenders, Niners, Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Jags, Saints, Seahawks, pretenders and contenders. There you have it. I think we're gonna bounce. I think there's a couple more questions. It's like, wait, I have the high stakes draft in like 9 minutes. So like I get to these questions. I love you guys. I love all the support. George, tell him it's only gonna be 40 minutes. It's like, man, would you stop it already? We'll get these and we'll get out of here. T-Law or Stroud this week? Stroud's got the Saints, right? Yeah. And T-Law's got the Colts. It's T-Law. Saints are good defense. I hope this doesn't happen, but Stroud's going to throw his first pick this week. He's going to throw his first pick. You think CMC wins it, eh? Man, it's been a while, right? Since we've seen, I mean, how many touchdowns does he have? He has a lot of touchdowns. He's got 8 touchdowns already. I mean, he's on his way. It's a good bet. It's a good bet at 15-1. It's a good bet. Really quickly before you go, I have Elijah Moore, but looking at Josh Downs, yes, I would make that swap. Josh Downs. We get the rankings. If you want to go back, Kyle, we have the rankings, like the order waiver wire rankings. I would go Josh Downs over Elijah Moore. Got offered in a trade, PPR, giving Amon-Ra St. Brown receiving Lockett and Devontae Smith thoughts in a vacuum. Adams is a lead wide receiver on the team. 2 wide receiver spots, 2 flex. Yeah, I'd make that move. You're getting to Smith is a good buy low candidate. A couple quiet weeks from him. He's still a baller. I'd make that move. You get 2 plus Amon-Ra's hurt at the moment. You guys are all there. CMC should win if it keeps this pace. But you're right, and that's the bottom line. It's a quarterback award. Who wins Rookie of the Year? Stroud, Achan, or Puka? I would say Stroud. He's favored at the moment. Bijan's in the conversation. Achan right now is hurt, so he's going to have to take a bit of a step back. I actually have the odds right in front of me here. Awards. I got to bring up NFC just because I can't be drafting Carter Hart here today. Rookie of the Year odds. I looked at them this morning. I do believe I saw Stroud favored at plus 130. Ooh, it's moved a bit. I think he was plus 175 this morning. Bijan at plus 350. Nakua 4-1. Anthony Richardson 21. Flowers 22. Achan at 25. Will be worth the sprinkle when he comes back. Maybe he can ball out in the second half. But I would say Stroud, man. Like, he just looks the part. He's taking care of the football. Houston's competitive. He's a quarterback, right? And ultimately a quarterback. But I would say Nakua over Bijan would be next. Right now, Puka, he's doing things never done on wide receiver, but it's a long season, and you're not wrong there. Like Puka, he is. Hawkinson, keeper league doesn't matter. Elijah Moore, whatever. Downs, I think. Why not him in a keeper league? Hawkinson plus Stevenson for Kyron too much. Yeah. One of my friends wants to do this trade. Why don't you help out one of your buddies? Hey, you're a good guy. Good guy. Hey, do this trade. If he comes over and, cleans your house, takes your garbage out, brings over a 2-4 of bats, maybe brings a donaire, then you can make that trade, help your buddy out that way. But it depends. Like, if you need running back depth, you can do it. I don't know what tight end you have to roll him out, but Hawkinson's a top 3 tight end. Dallas tough. I don't know. Did I say that they're Dallas is overrated, man. They're no good. Lockett or Nico this week. It's a little too early. Start and sit. Again, I don't know all the matchups. Lockett coming back. What has he got? All right, quickly we'll do this one for you. Guys, we'll be back on Thursday. We'll do some start and sits. This is way too early to get practice reports and things like that. What do we have here? Seattle's got Cincy, right? Yeah, and Nico. Houston has the Saints. I probably lean Lockett. At the moment. Michael Mercer, love it. Thanks, Chris. Good luck with your draft. Enjoy the NHL season. Thanks, man. You too. We really appreciate that. It's been fun. It's been a fun year. Fun off season, and I'm getting sidetracked. We got to get out of here. We got to go. We got the draft, and I got to sign in. Lost all my sign-in codes. It's just been a week, man. Traded Chan, Judy for Ayuk. Both of those guys. Definitely rather have Ayuk than Judy. Yeah, I just don't know the extent of the injury. I think I'd rather keep Achan. It definitely looks like a game changer. He has Laporta also. Oh, he has Laporta? So that's why. Oh, so you're getting Hawkinson and you're trading the backs for Hawkinson? I like to keep the running back depth personally. Texans could be without Tank, so Nico Uber targeted. Yes. And that is why Thursday and Friday is big days for start and sit. We just don't have everything. If that is the case and Tank is not playing, then I would certainly lean Nico Collins as the number one option anyways inside that offense. We're getting out of here, guys. I do appreciate it. Thanks so much. As you see, I'm giving you the peace sign, but you can't see it. And there it is. Have a good one, guys. Good luck with the waiver wire claims. And we will talk on Thursday, start and sit. We'll see you up Thursday Night Football. And if you're looking for hockey picks tomorrow, we'll have a quick little NHL prop video for you guys because there's a lot of action tomorrow night. So talk to you soon. Cheers.